So I'm just going to give a quick little tour of my plant room. I'm going to try and keep it brief, but I like plants, so it might be a little bit longer than I'd hope. So just starting from the left, here we have an English ivy. This is a variegated variety. So it can be invasive in the United States, but it will survive our winters. Or you could keep it inside. It doesn't need a dormancy period, but it tends to try and go through one. Here is my coleus seed tray. So I overseeded it a little bit, but that'll just help to weed out all of the weaker ones. So it's supposed to be a rainbow variety mix, but it seems like I'm getting mostly greens and purples. Here is a Venus flytrap, one of the more popular carnivorous plants. It's native to Virginia, and it does not like good soil. It likes very, very poor soil. Here are some aloe vera that I'm growing as bonsai, and most of these plants I will be keeping or am keeping in a pot. I find that bonsai tends to be it really suits itself for a condensed space. Here I'm growing a few different varieties of tomatoes. So they're all cherry varieties. I think these are blueberry. These are, well, can't remember, but that's why you should always label them. These are tomatillos, so also known as ground cherries. These are Mimosa pudica, and so these are also known as the touch-me-not plant. And so whenever you touch it, it tends to curl up. And so these are a little young, but they'll get there. These are coffee arabica. So this is what most coffee in the United States is from these plants. It takes a few months for them to sprout, so here's hoping that goes a little bit faster. Here is my biggest and oldest bonsai. This is also a coleus that I've kept in this pot for a few years. It's probably time for it to be repotted. This is another bonsai of the English ivy that I showed at the beginning. These are all sugar baby watermelons. You can tell they're starting to get a little too tall for their little plant pot, but it's not time for them to go outside yet. Here are a few different species of cactus. These are cuttings of tomatoes from my tomato bonsai, which is right here. It's not looking too great right now, but you can see that it's getting some new growth. These are pumpkins. And so this variety can actually grow to be over 200 pounds. So excited for those. Here's a few species of succulents that I haven't been able to identify because I'm keeping them so small. Here is a jade or Crassula ovata. And so I have it in what's called a little penjing, which is basically a bonsai in a landscape. And so it's like Mars, a little space dude that I carved from clay, and an alien, which is actually a little figurine of the two-headed monster from Monsters University that I painted to look like an alien. Here's my tomato again, and underneath it is a cutting that I took off of a cherry tree at work. I had permission to do so. These two are mandarin oranges. So typically they are a seedless variety, but occasionally you'll get some seeds. And so I just planted those up, and they're doing pretty good. This is my own tomato variety. It's a cherry tomato, but its fruit is kind of like a string of pearls. So you'll have a big tomato, and then a slightly smaller one, and then a slightly smaller one, all connected in the same fruit. So I'm excited to develop that as its own variety. Here is some basil. Here is also some basil, but it's the dark opal. So you can tell that these aren't as far along as these guys. This was peppermint, but you can tell I let it get too dry. But that's okay, I still have some that I can take cuttings from. And this is some thyme. It gets pretty leggy. This is a succulent that my husband got me. So his name is Bob. In here I have some endangered species. So I planted 4 Sequoia gigantum, I believe. So these are the giant Sequoia redwoods from California, and you can see that one of them is sprouted, and this one, if you can see clear enough, there's a little root, so it'll sprout really soon. These 2 are 2 different species of coniferous trees. They aren't looking so good, but I think they'll pull out of it. So this one is a... Hold on, I have to look at the cheat sheet. Okay, so this one is a Norway spruce, and this one is a bristlecone pine. Here is an asparagus fern, which I'm also growing as a bonsai. It's getting really big, well, comparatively, but it goes on and on. I normally keep this on my desk at work, but I'm on spring break, so it came home with me. Here's another species of jade. It's actually not super closely related to the Crassula ovata. This is a Portulacara afra. And you can tell it's not doing so well. It had some spider mites, but I got rid of those, and it's growing some new leaves, so it'll come through. These 2 are Schefflera. So these are native to Hawaii, and I'm growing them as a bonsai as well. This is an Easter cactus, which is currently in bloom. This is a paper white ziva. You can't tell, but eventually it's going to grow some flowers. It's supposed to do it around Christmas time, but it's a little late. That's okay. Here are a few different varieties of pothos, and so you can tell this one is normally on my desk at work as well. A little cat pot that my friend gave me. And so in here I have Marble Queen pothos and a sort of sub-variety of Marble Queen, which is Pearls and Jades. You can tell the difference because Pearls and Jades have these rounder leaves, and they tend to be these tend to be spottier, the Marble Queen, and this tends to have like big blobs of variegation. This is a cayenne pepper that I am growing as a bonsai. It's in 2 pots so that it can get more light. Down here, I've got some more tomatoes. I've already forgotten what they were, but that's okay. This, I'm real excited about. This is actually a peanut. I found some raw peanuts in the cooking aisle at Walmart, and I planted them up, and this is the first one that's sprouting. So peanuts are really cool because they're the only plant that's known to grow its flower on above ground, and then once it's pollinated, it will actually tip over and basically plant the flower into the ground, and then that's where the fruit develops, is underground. These are pepper plants up here. These are 5-color, or Chinese 5-color. So it's actually one pepper plant that grows 5 different colors of peppers. Here are a few avocado seeds that I'm growing. Excited to have them. What I want to do is I want to get a guacamole bowl and grow these as bonsai in the guacamole bowl. And then here's a couple of coconuts that I'm trying to grow from seed. This one I've had for about a month now. It's supposed to, if you follow the instructions, it's supposed to develop a shoot within 7 to 9 days, so it's pretty slow, or it's not going to work, so I decided to try it out with a new one. And then just the last few, these are all poinsettias, or poinsettias, that I got from Mac's Poinsettia Sale, and I love these guys. You can tell that they're all growing some new growth. This one still has some pink, so around Valentine's Day, I normally cut off the quote-unquote flowers, the colored parts, so that it grows a little bit better. These guys, there's 4 of them in here. This is Ficus religiosa. This is the tree that the first Buddha sat under to gain enlightenment. So, eventually what I want to do is I want to grow them into their really big and in their own pot, and then have like a little toy Buddha that sits underneath them. This is a Christmas cactus. So it's not blooming right now, but you can tell by these lighter leaves that it's growing. It's growing some new leaves, and it's doing pretty well. And then finally over here, I have, oh, pardon the mess, it's the sign of a creative mind. This is another pink poinsettia. It was actually growing really well, so I didn't clip off the colored leaves or the bracts. This is a winter rose poinsettia. It was not doing so well, so I cut it off a little bit early, and you can tell that it's really liking. It was just a single stem. Here is a white poinsettia. Again, I find that these smaller ones are actually growing really well without the bracts being cut off. And finally, I have that table over there, but that's kind of my quarantine. They aren't all doing so well. And then here is my Christmas cactus bonsai. I really like how it kind of moves. It's kind of a windswept look.